Thank you all for coming. I promise I will not make this meeting a formal or anything like that. I just want it to be wide open, laid back, informative meeting to get a chance to talk to the chief and get familiar with him. But before we start, I just want to say I want to introduce Ms. Bessie Watson, President of Edisto Court Neighborhood Association in here. And if she'd like to take a minute to welcome everybody.
Thank you, Councilman Baddourah. I want to thank everyone for coming out and joining us this afternoon. This is a wonderful event to have both chiefs here with us today and available for your questions and just to get to know everyone. So again, I thank you all for coming and joining us.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of updates about what's going on in the district and the city. Once again, thank you for coming. I know it's nice and hot outside. Hopefully this air-conditioned room will relieve some of that a little bit. As you know, next week is our first public hearing for our budget. So you're welcome to come to City Hall and experience the budget process if you like. Second of all, I just want to take another moment to introduce 911 operation back there. They've set up a table for you to get familiar with what they do and the cooperation they have with Richland County. But not only that, I think the city manager has introduced a couple of months ago the new system about giving you a phone call alert when it comes to boil water advisory or anything emergency in the city. So this is a new system that the city has adopted a couple of months ago, and they start to perfect it in the next few weeks, I hope. Moving on, another thing is going on in the city. The city council has approved to increase or renew the homeless shelter 6 weeks extension until July. And my position in that is I think if the city can afford or handle or have the opportunity to provide a place for the homeless to go and wash up and get out of the heat or the cold, I think the least we can do for them. Well, I really didn't want to make this a lot of speeches. So first of all, I want to introduce Chief Jenkins, our fire chief for the city. I'm going to give him a couple of minutes to talk, and then I'll introduce Chief Holbrook.
Thank you, Councilman Baddourah. Let me say it's an extreme pleasure to be here, and I'm here to entertain any question that you have about our operations and what we do. Just kind of give you a little background on me. I've been with the fire department now for 35 years. Yeah, I started when I was 2 years old. Worked my way up through each rank from tailboy firefighter all the way up to the fire chief. And we serve, just give you a little background on what we do. We got about 32 stations, and keep in mind that we are a county-wide department. So we don't just serve the city, we have a contract with the county as well, and we got about 32 stations working with about 500 on the roster and about over 120 volunteers. Booths on the streets, we got about 442 firefighters. We also do a lot of mutual aid agreements with the surrounding counties and also the military bases that's around. So I'm just here to answer any kind of question or concerns that you may have about our operations and what we do, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions at that time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. How long have you been with the city?
35 years.
35 years, right? Seriously? 35 years. Wow. He's a really true hero and a dedicated person to the city. Well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our new police chief, Skip Holbrook, and let him do some remarks, and then I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about other functions we're doing around the city so you can have an opportunity to meet the chief. Chief?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Certainly a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. I'll say something about Mr. Baddourah real quick. he's just a tremendous support of the police department and all of public safety. I think the chief would agree. Man, you age good too, by the way. That's impressive. But, you know, quite a process for me to be standing in front of you today, and throughout that process, with no agenda, Mr. Baddourah would reach out and be reassuring and really just help me, you know, arrive at the decision to be here. It was just, you know, part of many reasons that brought me here. Before I kind of get started, if you don't mind, I'd like to just recognize some of the staff that's here. I tell you what, the best thing that I realized immediately is what a wonderful group of police officers we have serving our community. Captain Sharp is responsible for this area. Captain, if you don't mind introducing your XO and your community officer.
It's Lieutenant Glenn Gates, and Officer Broder is your next officer.
And you know, the region commanders are a big part of my vision for our department, and what I mean by that is one of the things that I found early on is I didn't feel like they were being utilized correctly, and our region commanders are a very important part of what I consider my command staff, and it's important that we push that responsibility back to the regions to make decisions that they have the authority to make decisions that affect your all's neighborhoods. You know, the neighborhoods that you live in and that Captain Sharp commands may be different than, you know, Metro or in the north. So it's really important that that the regions identify with the neighbors and the neighborhoods they serve. So he does a wonderful job. Just tremendous commander, and very indicative of the staff that we have at the police department. The other person I'd like to introduce is Deputy Chief Kelly. Chief Kelly recently was promoted from major, and you know, I think it's very important to surround yourself with the right people, and you know, part of my mission is getting people in the right places to be successful, and I think we've assembled just an outstanding command staff and executive command staff. Chief Kelly brings a wide range of experience. He's done a lot in a career that you know, still has time to grow, and he's very respected both within the department and within the neighborhood, and he leads by example, and he's been a tremendous source of information and support in my endeavor to move our department forward. So if I can start how I do most of my meetings now, this is week 8, so you got to keep that in perspective. Been on the ground for 8 weeks, and it seems like it's gone fast, but it seems like it's I've been here a while too. It's been just the most rewarding experience I've had thus far in my life, and every day I'm thankful for the decision that I've made. The thing that I've found that has just been absolutely remarkable is just how welcoming this community's been, and professionally and personally. There's not a place that I go that someone, total stranger, doesn't come up and introduce themselves to me, and just they welcome me to this city, and tell me how important it is to them that I succeed and our department succeeds. So that just reassures me that I've made the right decision, and very fortunate and very honored to be here. You know, I think with anything that you do, it's important to know where you are and know where you want to go, and then have a plan on how you get there. So that's really been our focus immediately, is putting together a plan that starts moving us forward. And I brought a 90-day action plan with us, and we're kind of right in the middle of that. The first thing that we did was we have begun this assessment period, is what I call it. And part of that assessment really has been just what we're doing right now. It's involved me getting out in the community, meeting with the various neighborhood groups, citizens, our business leaders, having an exchange of information. They get to hear from me. I've got to hear from them. Got a lot of suggestions. People don't have any problem giving you suggestions. I mean, that range from things they would like to see us do differently or better to I've had phone calls on who I need to promote, where I need to promote, and where I need to assign people. So some of it's been pretty good suggestions too, I might add. So it's been wonderful. The other thing that we've done is and we're still in the process of some internal assessments, and we're kind of doing that through a number of ways. One is me getting around meeting our officers and commanders and spending time and talking with them, having pretty frank conversations. And one thing we've done is surveys, and nothing complicated. I've asked a series of just a few questions that I asked for some responses to, and one of the things, there's kind of some thought behind what I did. I asked the officers to put their names on the surveys and submit them to me, and I did that for a couple of reasons. I wanted to see if they'd do it, and there's been a culture of mistrust, and I felt like this is a way that we establish some trust right out of the starting gate. It was important to me that they know that they can provide constructive input, constructive criticism. We're not going to agree on everything, but the ability to discuss and talk about what's important is important for us to move forward. And I was very pleased to see that the amount of responses that I did get, and the fact that people did in fact put their names on it, and it just tells me that there is a spirit of trust, and everybody wants the same thing. The responses are very consistent. We want a transparent and accountable police department. We want one that internally has fairness, where everything is equitable, and that we restore some pride and integrity, and that we are the most professional, well-trained, equipped, and compensated police department in this region, in this area of the country, and we're going to get there. So also part of this assessment is we establish some committees. I'm kind of big on committees. I think it's important that when you're making decisions, you have the best information possible to make those decisions. And I've learned, being in law enforcement for almost 25 years, that cops they're a tough group, and they'll stand around the water cooler and criticize what we call the guys up on the third floor, which is where I'm housed, where we're making some decisions. So to me, it's important that you include people that those decisions are going to affect. Sometimes in a planning process, that they have skin in the game, and they're able to. It's a little more easy for them to defend and diffuse with their peers. Peer on peer is very effective at times. So we've created several committees where I think is where we're going to emphasize. And one thing that is critically important is hiring and recruitment. And we have a staffing issue right now that we're dealing with, and it's very important that we aggressively get this rectified and get our staffing at our budgeted strength. And we also strategically plan for our department to grow as our cities grow. And we know our city's developing and growing leaps and bounds, and we need to match that growth. Every annexation and every development that occurs, that equals a call for service. And so we're going to have to provide service for that. So we've got to be staged and planned to grow with the city. The other thing that we're reviewing is our policies and our accreditation process. We were a nationally accredited police department, and that lapsed. And it's very important that we restore that. That sets a standard and an expected level of performance with rules and policies that transcends who's sitting in my chair. It's important to have a leader that advocates and leads by example, has a vision, and a plan, and you know, encourages and leads the department. However, you have to have a standard and a baseline that everybody's going to follow no matter what, and that's what accreditation will accomplish, and we're going to get back there. The other thing that might seem simple to you but is incredibly important is we got to have our a mission and a vision statement, and we've got a group that's working on that, setting goals and objectives. We got to know where we got to go. And then lastly, Captain Sharp's heading this up, is our uniform and equipment committee. And again, how we look, how we carry ourselves, how our department looks, how our cars look, that reflects on an agency. If you gathered up a dozen police officers right now, they'd have 12 different variations of a uniform, and that's going to stop. We're going to look professional, consistent. There's not going to be any doubt in your mind when you see a Columbia police officer, and they're going to look sharp and act sharp, and Captain Sharp is going to see to that. And it's going really well. So we're real excited about that. Second phase is really once we define all this stuff, which we're in that phase right now. We're going to start planning on how we're moving forward, and then the last phase we're going to implement everything, and then we'll start monitoring to see if if the plans and things we're setting in motion are working. We're going to have to make some course adjustments, but that can be expected. But again, we get everybody moving in the right direction. I was commenting earlier, this is like turning an aircraft carrier around. You got to start turning, and it's going to take a little while, but we're going to get there. So I'm very honored and excited to be here. Our officers are our greatest asset. It's important that we hire the very best, we give them the best training, and that we retain them. We have to make our officers want to come work at the Columbia Police Department, be proud to work here, and want to make this a career. So I'll be glad to answer questions now, or
It's up to you.
okay. Yes, sir.
Even though you've only been here a couple of months, have you had any success in starting to fill the vacancies with new officers? And on top of that, have you ever go far and wide to find them, or are you able to find them okay?
Well, we just, I'm glad you asked that, because I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We just graduated 14 from the academy, meaning they'd already gone through the basic stuff basic training at the police department, and they'd gone through the state academy. We graduated the top recruit and then 2 other top award winners. It was just an incredibly sharp group of police officers, and if we can maintain what I saw last week, that would be outstanding. And to your other question, we are hiring as we speak. We're really starting a recruitment campaign, though, and I could think of no better area to recruit in than the one we live in. I mean, between universities, colleges, community colleges, the military, other departments, we need to be able to cherry pick the best of the best from other departments. It doesn't need to be the other way around. And then just the whole region. I mean, up into North Carolina and in the upstate and low country. I mean, we've got it's a target-rich environment for recruiting, in my opinion, and we're going to take advantage of it. And we're really going to emphasize in our recruitment endeavors. We want our police department to reflect the community that we serve. So it's important that we fulfill that. Yes, ma'am.
It seems to me the way the university is branching out its housing facilities, and some of which maybe not are officially university housing facilities. I'm not quite clear on that. That's going to put a lot more strain on the police department, the city police department. Does the university have a commitment to beefing up its police to
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't speak to what the university's commitment is going to be, but I can tell you that I've already had just in the last couple of months, I've already had a couple of very constructive meetings with the university, and historically there's been a great relationship, and that will continue. I also have I'll be in a meeting tomorrow, and I'm sure we will discuss that, but I certainly would anticipate that they would be a compliment to us, just like we are to them in many sporting venues. But we have to have the capacity to address that growth and as developments such as that occur. But you're exactly right. We're getting ready to infuse 850 kids downtown, and we've got some similar developments in the Vista area that. So that that's why it's really important that we strategically plan as a police department. We have got to grow at the rate our city grows, and we have to be able to forecast what that growth is. Sometimes, a lot of times when annexation occurs, it may just be a plot of land. But we've kind of got as we're strategically planning for the future, we have to anticipate and forecast what the use of that will be, and to the extent we can. So. That's something we're looking at, and we certainly recognize that we need to be positioned to grow. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not being any kind of disrespect here. Previously, when the previous chiefs were in office, they were micromanaged, or it appeared that they were micromanaged by the city council, which is a very eclectic group that we have. How will you feel if they end up trying to micromanage you, or how will you feel if you're wanting to make some changes that you and your staff feel but they do not agree with?
Well, communication is the key to, that's the key to working through any issues. But it's important for the police department to be just that, a police department. And I can tell you that I have not experienced anything like that. Quite the opposite, to be honest with you. I have found all our council folks to be, collectively probably the most professional group that I've had the pleasure of working with. And it's they're all incredibly smart and passionate about the areas that they serve. And when you have that, you're going to have disagreement occasionally. But I can't speak to anything before I got here, but I can certainly speak to my observations and what I've experienced in working with them, and it's been nothing but thumbs up, and that goes with the city manager and really just all the administration. It's been very positive. They recognize the separation that is necessary for us to be credible. And accountable and independent. Being independent is necessary, but collaboration with our city council and city government. That can't be a sign of meddling too. We have to collaborate on issues, and that's how we get in step and are moving in the same direction. To me, if there's not that interaction. Then you end up going and pulling in opposite directions, or it becomes dysfunctional. So it's my ability to communicate with our council and the mayor and the city manager is it's been unobstructed and very open. So I understand what you're saying, just from things that I've read, but I have no experience of that. I'm quite pleased.
With our police departments, I personally, in Rosewood area, I absolutely love Officer Baddourah and Captain Sharp. They have been a tremendous asset to us. Will you continue on with them being a big focal point of our neighborhoods, or do you anticipate changes coming down the road? Is that something that you've talked about, or?
Yeah, sure. This would be like some of those phone calls I got. Hey, is Captain Sharp staying where he's at? Yes, we have made some subtle changes, but the changes have been related to really service efficiencies based on, based on our needs and the demands on the police department. But there has been some subtle shifting at the region command levels, but that's been in order to facilitate, like a captain dealing with training and hiring, which is very important, with decentralizing some specialized units. We decentralized some specialized units and put them back in the regions to be under the commands of, our region commanders. And we also consolidated some units. We consolidated some units, for example, to make our gang unit have more personnel in it. So there already has been some restructuring, and I don't anticipate any more in the near future. But restructuring is always done for the betterment of an organization. It's never done to punish. Yeah, absolutely. Because you think about it, anytime you move somebody, you're moving somebody else. So it's unfair to move somebody for the, sometimes somebody needs a change of scenery. They may not like it, or they may not feel like it's what's best for them, but when you're looking at it from 10,000 feet, it can be what's best for them and what's needed and what's best for our organization. So what's important anytime you move and have a process for whether it's promotions, movements, discipline, course corrections, is that it's fair and balanced, and we're very forthcoming with why we make the decisions we make. But no, you'll see stability. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Since you brought up gangs, what's your assessment of the gang situation in Columbia and Richland County?
Well, I would acknowledge that we do have gangs, first of all and foremost. It's something that certainly is a priority. It has to be. One thing that this community is, I think we're fortunate right now is, we are not plagued with many of the drug issues that other communities, like-sized communities and communities, close-by communities, deal with. And I mean, you can go one county over and they're inundated with meth labs, methamphetamine problem. You can go a few counties away and go further south, and we're almost at epidemic levels with heroin and heroin overdoses. We have our drug issues, but we don't see the the abundance of open air drug markets that result in extensive violent crime. Our issue is dealing with what I consider organized crime, which is gang activity or loosely organized folks who are involved in criminal activity. They may not be in an established necessarily gang, but they're organized enough that there's some structure, and that's why we've increased our unit. You'll see our what I would consider expanded cooperation with the Sheriff's Department and how we battle gang investigations and gang activity. You're going to see a spirit of cooperation you probably haven't seen before, and we're excited about that. So it is a priority and an area of focus for us, and it'll continue to be.
Is there a way you can reach out to the community and tell us what we can do to be on the lookout or to help police?
Well, I think what's important for us is that any suspicious activity gets reported. It can't just be a crime in progress. There's Crime Stoppers is just an outstanding way to disseminate helpful information, not just when we're looking for somebody, but when there's criminal activity afoot that you think is worthy of law enforcement following up on. And it may be graffiti that you may not be sure that it's gang related, but that would be worthy of calling. Let the people that are experts at that take a look at it to see if it's something that's indicating something that might be coming, or a territorial issue, or it could just be some kids, spray painting a trash can or something. So, but just little things like that are important. Same thing with just minor quality of life issues. Just could be the beginning of bigger problems. So we need to know about that too. All neighborhoods in our city, doesn't matter where you are going to have rental property, and things can pop up just like that with rental property, especially if you have absentee landlords and irresponsible landlords. Somebody can move in, and the next thing you know, you've got a lot of activity or unsavory folks that might be milling around. We would rather know about that immediately so we can take a look at it and see if there's things we can do to intervene before it becomes a problem. Yes, sir.
And that brings up something I would like to discuss and ask a question about, is as you go through the community here in the area, you'll see some signs that were marketed by the class command structure that I will talk to you off the record afterwards. But you also see some older signs that talk about neighborhood watch organizations, and as communities have in the past several years, the last few commands tried to organize neighborhood watches, there hasn't been a lot of support from the police department. And one of the challenges you will always have is having boots on the ground. And so that's one of the best tools you have, is to have an active citizenry that is doing a neighborhood watch sort of thing. And so, first of all, I recommend that is something that you do consider reinstituting. And then also, is it, just flat out asking you, is that something that you're considering and planning to be able to help give some of the organizational support that community leaders do need to be able to institute a neighborhood watch program?
Neighborhood watch programs, when done correctly, can be effective. I don't know the level of structure in this particular area, but my general response would be neighborhood watch programs that are done correctly can be effective. Neighbors watching out for neighbors, getting on the telephone, calling each other, communicating, keeping lights on, keeping slum and blight mitigated, keeping in touch with law enforcement before problems become crimes. Those can be as equally effective too. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to go back to what you said, like rental properties. Sometimes it's not the rental properties that you're going to have problems with. You can have the $1 million homes where people sell drugs out of.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a poor neighborhood per se for drug activity to happen. On saying that, I know that there is a substation. Is it Sylvan Line, maybe?
Adeline.
Is that Adeline? What was it? Adeline. Is there going to be more traffic for the policemen to ride up and down, like these neighborhoods where, like, kids are out of school now? And there's a lot of standing on the corners. And I think that if the police will ride through every now and then, and see the cars and know they're going to be coming through there, that this will deter some of that activity.
Yes, ma'am.
So are we going to have some of that?
Well, you should be having that now. Yes, ma'am. Our uniform footprint in the communities we serve are important. One thing that, and it may address this a little bit. One thing that is for certain that we don't do and have not done is we don't take boots off the street from regions to staff hospitality areas. Okay, we do that above and beyond staffing, but each region is staffed based on call density and calls for service, and or crime density and calls for service, and we have vacancies in every region, and every captain will tell you that their region is the most important and needs that staffing immediately. But we look at the big picture, and as quickly as we can get somebody hired and trained, we get them staffed. So anytime that you think there needs to be extra attention or there's something that's popping up, that's you know, that's what we need that community officer to be in touch on, and so we can, you know.
I'm gonna give you an instance. I called, I was sitting on the porch, I kept gunfire, right?
Yeah.
So I called, so the guy asked me if I was willing to come outside. I'm like, heck no. You come out there and you gonna shoot me? No.
Yeah.
I moved to even use my name. The lady on the corner said no, because one time I called and the cop parked his car across the street from the house. Like, what did that tell the neighbors?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is not putting anything else on you or your wonderful department. But you can't help but see how important it is for city council to really get busy putting in sidewalks. And I was thrilled to see that Olympia in the paper now has sidewalks. But there are many, many neighborhoods where we need sidewalks so people are encouraged to walk, and that helps us in our neighborhoods keep an eye on everything.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
Me too.
We have an area over in Valencia, it's a Columbia Gardens, it's an apartment housing area, and I am receiving a lot of phone calls from the neighbors. Gunfire at night is starting to pick up. I realize that it's not all people that live there, it's people sometimes that's coming to visit, sometimes they have a bill, sometimes situations arise. But what can we do to kind of get this over, try to get ahead of the game right now, instead of waiting until later on when we have a death or something like that?
Well, one of the things that's very important is you report gunfire.
Right.
You know, even if you're not sure, you know, a lot of times, especially once school gets out, I used to say when the weather gets warmer, but it's always warm here, so I gotta change that up. You know, you start getting fireworks and stuff, so sometimes people aren't sure. You need to call in, because what's important and helps us connect the dots is if we can collect brass. You know, brass is, you know, firearms seized, or they can be test fired and entered into a national ballistic system where they, you know, connect the dots with this, you know, this brass, you know, over here was fired by the same gun as brass we found somewhere else. And then ultimately, if you work that weapon back, and it may end up, the weapon may be attached to a group, not an individual. You know, a lot of times with gang activity, they share guns. So you may have brass fired from the same gun that may be in multiple areas throughout the town. So it's important that we respond to gunfire, and, you know, take a look and see if we can find evidence that there was in fact gunfire. So, you know, just like anything else, it's important to report that. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chief. I don't want to make this formal. That's why, you know, I'm going to give you all a little bit more time to kind of have one-on-one with the chief if you like. But I do want to share a little bit of thought with you guys about the process of hiring the chief. I'm a businessman, everybody knows that. And in any business or any operation that you go into, you have a 90-day or a short period of goals that you have to achieve, and a little longer period, and then the long term. I have no doubt in my mind we hired the right person. And I'll tell you that in front of you and everybody else in the city. And I shouldn't say we, I should say city manager has hired the right. We made the right decision. And the more I talk to the chief, the more I hear from him. He has a plan. And he has a plan, and he needs your help, and he needs the council's help, and he needs his staff help. And he's working on that. He's working on rebuilding his staff. He's working on reaching out to all the community members. He's reaching out and working and communicating with council and management. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes to become a good chief. And we just want to support him and give him all the tools that he needs to make his job successful. To give you another example, you know, he left his wife and his family in North Carolina to come and be obligated and commit to this job. And we thank him for that, because you know, as we all know, it's hard. And, you know, talking about my wife is back there with my 2 boys, and I don't know how she does it, but she puts up with me every single day, so make sure you tell her thank you. But in all fairness and all seriousness, I think we have the right person for the right job for our city. And we just need to give him the support that he needs to continue doing the job. And we're committed 100% on the council to do the same. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Serena Johnson, and I just want to say again, like you said, with no disrespect, I have a title too, but right now I'm not concerned about title versus leadership. And we get people come in, hire for a position, and that position, you get interviews, and you get questions, and some of the questions could be, what would you do in certain conflicts? And that goes back to what she said. Will you go against someone else if you know what you're doing is the right thing for the right reasons? Oftentimes, when you get certain people, certain titles, you would do what the majority do. I'm here because they talked about drug dealers. I didn't even know what this meeting was in reference to, because I thought it was about the soul in this community being contaminated. However, I just wanted to state, we talk about drug dealers, but we never report it. And like she said, having a sidewalk, most people are fearful of their lives because they think they're going to get shot, and not just shot from those drug dealers. Sometimes you can be in a leadership position and send out hits just as well. And I do know what I'm talking about. I'm just not making up stuff to put fear in anybody's heart or mind or to get them thinking outside the box. People talk to me and they're scared to speak out. Also, what happens when you have these companies that comes into your neighborhood that's killing people just as fast as the drug dealers? And you have meetings, we've heard it all before, you're not doing anything but patching the situation up, and because most people can't move out of this community, they can still be getting sick or can't go to the doctor and different things like that. Maybe you'll get the update of what I'm talking about in reference to the community and the bad soul that's in this neighborhood. And I'm just speaking out because when I spoke out last time, no one even offered to bring DHEC here to get us tested. And after I said I was going to go to my individual doctor, and they put it in the newspaper, and the next week DHEC came to test us to make sure no one had cancer or, you know, a disease from the bad soul. However, they still treated every last one of us the same and natural, telling us nothing was wrong with any of us. Well, I have paperwork in the car, and that's about the most that I'm going to say, because I've never had a little mass. I've never had spots that I have on my face today until 2010 when I moved in my home here. Also, when it comes to the sidewalk, if you're going to get chased by pit bulls, and then when you call the police 911, they put me on hold. I was being chased by pit bulls. I was walking the neighborhood, and I called 911. They put me on hold. Then they called me back and asked me what the problem was. I spoke with the next person in the chain of command to get the problem resolved, to let them know that that happened. My third situation is, it seems like when you have a problem, whether it's a drug dealer problem, shooting, gangbanging, or whatever, you're not heard if you don't have a title. I was very offended. My daughter cut school. She was a little girl that went to career high school. We all make mistakes, and we all may have cut. That does not entitle that she should have died. She should have gotten shot. But she got shot in a drive-by shooting. However, when I went to court, and I'm just going to make this brief, they gave the driver, which could also be the shooter because no one was talking, two chances, what you call it, parole, two times, not parole, 2 bonds to get out. someone else's child got killed. It wasn't by a drive-by, but it was a drunken driver. They didn't let this man out because he had killed a child. 2 cases, a child was killed. But the drunk driver, if I'm not mistaken, had killed before. So he wasn't able to get out, nor was he able to get a bond. But when my daughter was killed, when she was killed before, the driver who was not speaking got a $100,000 bond. He got out. They took him back to court and gave him another $100,000 bond. But my point is, do you have to be a certain person just to get justice? Because it was basically the same thing. 2 people died, 2 different situations. And even in the drunk driving situation, this young man, if I'm not mistaken, had killed before. And when Mr. Osborne Jenkins got on the news, if I'm not mistaken, God bless y'all, and pray for your family, it was your nephew. This man couldn't get out of jail. Now this is my question. Is it because of who you know, your status? Because that's out the window with me right about now. We're needing leadership in many areas, whether it's sidewalks, drug dealers, these different companies coming in our neighborhood, taking over, and money is going being distributed to somebody higher than I can think of the state right now. What are you planning on doing about that? Because if people live in this neighborhood, they probably got cancer or any other sickness, and they'll move out, and it's people in your area. And like you said, this area is going to expand, and half the people that's coming to this neighborhood don't even know what's going on in this neighborhood, and can get sick. If my results in 2 or 3 weeks come back saying that I have cancer, y'all will hear from me. Somebody's going to hear from me. And that question is for all 4 of you.
Thank you. Let me just address a couple of things. On the arsenic-lead contamination, DHEC and EPA both got involved right away. That as soon as we heard or we know about the problem, I got in touch with DHEC and EPA, and they were here. According to their statistics and their data and all their testing, they have replaced 13 homes' soil that when it's safe that you can dig in and do whatever you want to do. And I think we've done a lot of PR to this and communicated with a lot of neighbors. We've got in touch with DHEC, and as you said earlier, we brought in DHEC to do on-site testing for any diseases or anything that might be related to arsenic and lead poisoning. And we didn't get any results. None of the ones we tested from Easy Street came back positive. So we've done our due diligence when it comes to making sure your yard and your home is safe when it comes to contamination with arsenic and lead. Now, if you have another issue, I'll be glad to take your number and get you in touch with somebody with DHEC that we can help you a little bit more. When it comes to sidewalk, yes, we need sidewalks everywhere we go. I'm not denying that. I was the first one and still continue to fight for sidewalks. I will vote for sidewalk and support sidewalks before I build a stadium or build another neighborhood. I need to take care of my neighborhoods if I can, okay? Thank you. The other thing, you mentioned some about drive-by shooting and stuff. Yes, and those problems do exist. That's why we have a new chief, we have a new team, and we're working on that. But don't stop telling us what you see in the neighborhood, because we need to know. We need to know that every single day, every time that you call in. If you don't get a response, you call me. If you didn't get a hear from me, call the chief, call Officer Brody, call Captain Sharp. We're here to serve you. Let me make that clear. We're here to serve you. It doesn't matter who you are, what your name is, what your color is, how level you are, or statistic. We are here to serve you because you are the citizen that makes the city. So I understand your frustrations. I understand how you feel about some of the things, but if there's anything specific like I need to address for you, I'll be glad to. If I need to direct you on somewhere else to help you with your health issues, I'll be glad to. When it comes to bond hearing, the council and this government have gone beyond the law to change the law to make that impossible for criminals and gang members to come out of jail, to continue to make more crimes or harm more people. And we're still working on that. It's a process. I understand everything in government is slow, but it's a process we have to follow, and we will be successful in that. I think a lot of people, just like yourself, who is passionate about this community and this city, are voicing their opinion, and people on the elected level are listening to them. And we are here to help you. And I know this is a lot of promises, but I promise you, this is not it's going to happen. Okay? Sure.
I would like to address the bond thing. When my nephew got killed, well, he was actually in the hospital when I learned about it. I went to the hospital that night, and I did my homework myself. I talked with the trooper, and I asked him about the person that hit my nephew. So he told me that when he did the research, that this guy had 7 previous, but he got off on 1. So what I did, and I'll just be honest with you, the next morning I went to bond hearing by myself. I put nothing on me that recognized me as the fire chief. I put nothing. I was in my blue jeans, tennis shoes, and a shirt and a hat. I didn't know the judge. The judge didn't know me. But what I did when he came up, I told the judge, I said, look, I explained to the judge, say, this person got these many priors, and I'm asking you not to release this person out of jail. And I didn't do anything with the media. Had no idea what happened that night. They had no idea of where I went that morning. But somehow they got wind of it, and they called me Sunday night, and I agreed to do an interview. But before that bond hearing, they had absolutely no idea who that person was or who was affiliated with it. What I did, I went to court. I went down there, and I just played with the judge and talked about the priors that happened. So I do want to say one other thing, and I think the chief was spot on it, about retention and recruitment. Right now, we're having a problem, an issue with keeping firefighters. We train them. I mean, they get the best training, in my opinion, in the state. We train them to a high standard. And what happens is, when we train them, they'll stay a couple of years, and they see another opportunity. What a lot of people don't realize, what post 9/11 did, it opened up a lot of avenues for a lot of law enforcement, opened up a lot of avenues for EMS workers, it opened up a lot of avenues for firefighters, it even opened up a lot of avenues for 911 communicators, because they had to hear that stuff. They heard it, and it affected them just as much. It affected firefighters, police officers, it affected everybody. So there was just mass exodus to retire or go out on disability. So what it did, it opened up these jobs in New York and other places. And firefighters, I tell you, you got to be a little crazy to be a firefighter. You really do. Even to be a police officer. Sorry, Chief. And the reason why I say that, because you are running to stuff that people running away from. You never see a firefighter run away from a house fire. I don't believe you see a police officer run away from gunfire. They always run into it. So what it did, it opened up a lot of openings, and we lose them. Right now, I went before council, and Mr. Baddourah allowed me to come before the committee a couple of years ago, and I presented an attrition study and just showed them why we're losing firefighters. And I'm not going to go into that spiel, but we are losing them. This past year, I think I might have hired maybe 70 firefighters. I still got about 30 openings, because as quick as I get them in the door, they leave. And I would tell you, and I may be a little biased, I have been in another place. I've been here my whole career, but I don't think that you're going to find a better fire department on the East Coast than the Columbia Fire Department. I just don't. The passion is there, the drive is there, and they love what they do. They love what they do. But I would say this in this meeting, I think we do need to, I'm like the chief, if you're gonna keep a good core of people, you gotta treat them right. You gotta compensate them right. You gotta be competitive. You do. Absolutely. You do.
And then, first of all, Mr. Baddourah, thank you for this meeting. And that is a huge issue, is that the attrition in the fire department and the police department. And Chief, I've had an opportunity to interact with a couple of your officers and thank them for their service and ask them to stick around as long as they can, knowing that there are other opportunities in this general area, not just in New York City, to get paid better. And Mr. Baddourah, I want to thank you for your support in trying to increase the salaries for the police officers and the fire department, because, and everybody needs to support and call Mr. Baddourah and other council people too, to talk to them about making sure that they are paying these people to retain them, because it's very expensive to train and to use them. And so, Mr. Baddourah, I want to thank you for your efforts to make sure the city keeps its priorities straight and does invest enough money in our public safety to be able to do that. And I just want to thank both of you for that, but also encourage all the citizens to understand that is a huge issue. It is the attrition, not only the fire department, but the police department. And there needs to be some will, not only on city council, but within the citizenry, to pay that extra money that is needed to recruit good officers. So again, I thank all of you.
And if I may, I would like to say that I can contest to what the chief is saying, because he got some good officers. I work with them sometimes on Saturday nights, Friday nights, and he got some really good officers. They dedicated, and I just appreciate what we have here. I really do. And I am so sorry for your loss. I feel your pain. I really do.
All right, we're gonna hang around for you to have one-on-one if you like, but if you have any more questions, I'll be glad to take them. Otherwise, feel free to talk to Chief Holbrook or Chief Jenkins.
Do they have business cards? Because I'd like to get back to a ballpark, so.
Sure. And I've got mine on the table, but if you ever need us or anything like that, please don't hesitate. And like I said, hang around. There's some refreshments.
I thought the meeting went great. It's very consistent with many of the other neighborhood meetings that I've experienced thus far. People are, very passionate about their neighborhoods and, very clear on what they want and the vision they have for their neighborhoods, and additionally what they expect from their police department. It kind of resonates with me, just the diversity that we have in our city, and the different neighborhoods all have needs very specific to their neighborhoods, and but it also reinforces to me just the wonderful people that we have. I mean, it's the welcoming that I've had has just been overwhelming, really. Just complete strangers come up to me all the time and just welcome me to the city.
Well, I think today's meeting was really to give an opportunity for citizens to meet the chief and talk to him face one-on-one, to get a better understanding what he has plans to make our city a lot safer. And that's what the whole meeting is all about. I think it just kind of opens the door for a better communication, better understanding what the police department is doing for our community, and what their comments from the citizens to the chief, because sometimes communication is not there, and we just wanted to open that door for between the citizens and the chief.